you want to pick through some of the things that we're talking about here, and you have some different language that you want to use instead of, goals are for such harsh one. If you're a hammer, is there a nail around kind of stuff? I mean, can I whack it harder? But can we make this a little like not so harsh, but got some language?
Yeah, I do. So I want to first say that, in midlife, we start to talk about passion rather than goals because goals are set by others oftentimes for us when we're younger. We have a goal to get a career. We have a goal to finish school. We have a goal to goal, but they aren't ours. They're boxes we're checking. And so you can succeed or not succeed, but um, it's the everyday thing. When he's talking about systems, that's what we're doing every day. We might call it the slog or we might call it whatever, but it's our day-to-day stuff. We are making impact every single solitary day, but we never register it. So if we're focused only on goals or passion, and passion is, most people will be like, I don't even know what my passion is, like, so that's like an overwhelming term. So as a goal, go get a goal. Well, in what? Like it's too big, it's too overarching, it's intimidating. But if you just live your life, you are making impact every day, and they are your goals because you're just living them. So examples are holding the door open for somebody. You can change an entire culture of a workplace or an institution just by starting that. Then everybody else starts to do it by smiling at people when you pass them in the hallway, by doing tiny acts of kindness, which you would be doing anyway. We just never acknowledge these things. Then they build up. Then once you get intentional about it, it ends up being like a goal, or that it turns into a passion. I'm going to do this everywhere. It makes me feel so good. So I think that the emotion is left out of what he was talking about. And so if we think in terms of impact, that is something that we can all grab onto because we're all doing it literally every single day. There's not a day the person has woken up, taken the breaths and steps that they've taken all day long, and then go to bed that they haven't made impact.
It's a very fine line here, and what Debbie's talking about is passion and impact. And I agree with what you said, Deb, with goals are really, really big. I mean, really, really, really big. And so if we're going to make use of the phases of our lives, which you've been doing lately, matter of fact, take a couple minutes here and talk about some of the stuff you've been doing lately to help with your passion and your refirement, because we're going to fold all this together. I got a couple minutes before we go to break here, and I want to come back and talk about some more of this other goal stuff. But what are you doing? What are you doing personally that's giving you some passion?
So right now I'm shifting. And my passion is now that I'm looking to quantify impact that we make. We all talk about legacy, we all talk about all the things, and most people think, I haven't done anything. Do I matter? What's my footprint? And they don't even realize how much they do, how important they are. It's like we're all living the It's a Wonderful Life, where until like Clarence rings his bell, you don't know what you've done to change a community or a system or a family. And so I'm creating an app right now called My Legacy Tree, where we're able to map out our own impact, what we've been doing, small and large, to see what that snowball effect is. So it's like taking LinkedIn and Ancestry.com and pushing them together and making your own legacy tree. So that's what my new passion is.
Deb, you do have some thoughts you wanted to say before I get into my goal thing. Continuing the conversation we're talking about with Scott Adams. We're doing a little bit of a testimonial to him, everybody. Did you have some more language you wanted to throw out there with this, or did you want me to just go into my thing with the goals?
I will just say something really quickly, and that is that most of us know the term goal. Most of us also don't realize that goals are things that we set and they are not the end of anything. So if you achieve a goal, it can morph into another and it can morph into another, but we look at it as one standing thing and then I'm done. And so it makes us feel like we're constantly needing to add something else because we feel like, oh, I'm done. Now what? And then we have that same feeling over and over again. And I work with so many midlifers that I want to, really stress that our life is a journey and it is passions and goals and all of these things. You are doing it every day. You're just not acknowledging it. And it's that start and stop that we keep thinking we need to have that you don't need to have.
What are the 2 or 3 things? I got to keep this things for me to be simple. I got to be simple. So keep it simple. 2 or 3 things that are going to be the giant enablers that are going to get you to that goal. That's it. That's the prime objective. Once you achieve that goal, then we reestablish the prime objective, which is the 2 or 3 things. And then we move forward in the step process. Do you like that, Deb?
I do. I think that's how we get to doing all the things that we're ever doing. So I'll give you an example. I remember, what was it, 2023, I was asked to write a book. But prior to that, I had been writing blogs. I had been doing things, little steps all along the way. I wanted to write a book. I just didn't know how that was going to happen. But I thought, let me take the steps that a person would need. I need to write. I need to get my ideas down. I need to get my thoughts down. Well, somebody saw it and they said, hey, would you like to write a book? Then I had the ability to achieve that goal. So if you're doing things that can lead to something, like you're saying, the prime objective, the big thing, just do it, act on it. It's that which is impact. Had I never stepped out and done those things, no one would have said, hey, would you like to write a book? So I then was able to write the book. And I said, well, okay, I achieved that goal. Am I done? No. Now I'm stepping out and doing new things, like you mentioned, like which was the cringiest thing I ever could have imagined, which was to go on social media and make videos. But I'm doing it.
Debbie, so why did you feel cringy?
Okay, I'll take you way to the Wayback Machine. I've always been afraid of public speaking. I remember being in school as a little kid, and they would say, never speak out. You'll only be seen as a fool if you're not correct. So that stuck with me. So then I had a fear of public speaking and I had a great desire to give a TED talk. How can you do that if you're afraid of public speaking? So then I had to teach at the college level because I figured I'll have to start somewhere. Then I gave the TED talk. Now it didn't go away, that fear. My next fear was, oh my gosh, I'm going to be out on social media. And of course, everybody's going to, see me. It's the fear of being seen. Somebody's going to hear me or see me saying something that maybe it'll be wrong. Maybe they'll, have an opinion that's different than mine. And then I have to deal with that. That's really what it all boils down to. And I'm doing it. And now I don't care.
You said the cringiest thing, and you went through all this stuff, and then but you didn't mention, your 15 years of radio and how that helped, and how that all, and again, the universe brought us together. Talk about that. Let's do a little walk down memory lane.
If I'm to talk about this in psychological terms, you kicked off my exposure therapy, because I didn't start out on video, I started out on radio, and I actually would get myself with my hair combed and dressed to be on the radio where no one would see me because it was so frightening to me. And if you remember, I was so prepared, I would give you PowerPoints ahead of time. I mean, how ridiculous. But that was the beginning of the journey of me saying, I'm ready to be seen now. I think that I can talk to people and I know what I'm saying. And I'm an expert in this. And I want to be heard finally. And truly, that really was the kickoff. That day, I remember it in Queens, New York, where I lived, and sitting at a desk all made up where no one could see me and talking with you and sweating. And then Sandy getting on afterwards saying, it'll get better.
Go back again and talk about the goals or steps and the journey and all that, because we got to reinforce this with everybody.
Yeah.
Why this works. Would you please go right ahead?
Sure. So if we're going to talk about goals or passions, those big things that we want, they tend to run through things that we're always doing all the time. So just like you told me and reminded me, hey, this went back 15 years. I forget about the things that I do because I do it so often, 45 times later, it becomes like breathing. We all do that. So we have to remind ourselves that the goal is an end. That goal that I've had has just shifted over time. It started with radio not being seen. It moved on to giving a TED talk, to teaching, to writing a book, to now I'm on TikTok, but these are the kinds of things that it didn't ever change. It's just flowing differently. So if we can think of goals and passion as something that we want to strive for, we just need to tweak our everyday and acknowledge our everyday and be intentional in our everyday, because it's that, it's the getting on the radio show, or it might be that if you're just starting out on something, that you're writing something, because that is one step, further behind the scenes. You just put yourself out in one kind of a way. If you're somebody that's doing exercise, it's just one thing. You maybe count your steps every day. You do one little thing, and that becomes a part of your routine, but that's moving you towards a passion and goal. So there's no losing in that ever. You might shift it, but that's not losing.
Well, and I haven't asked that in a long time. Do you still do one-on-one counseling with people? Would you be available for
Yeah,
stuff like that?
I do. So I do meet with people one-on-one. I tend to take about 3 people at a time. And I also, so I don't usually keep a huge practice. And I do give talks all the time.
Okay, so there you go. How would you like people to connect with you?
You can reach me at deborahheiser.com. You can reach me on my Substack, Dr. Deborah Heiser, or it's called The Right Side of 40, through Psychology Today. I write for them. You can also reach me at deborahheiser@gmail.com.
That's my point, Deb, and I want to get your opinion on that.
I think that I love everything you talk about, and you live your life like a pie. If you were to think of a pie and slices, and that's a good way for most of us to live, where you say, I only have a pie that's so big. The slices can only add up to 100% of the pie. So you can't have 150% of your pie. So I tell people to live by your pie. And if you have too much that you're doing in one area and it's not making you happy, make that slice a little different. So, you were talking to me, off air about how you were like, oh, I don't know if I should go work for the gym or if I should just go to the gym, but I love going to the gym. That's living your everyday. You could call that living your goal. You are living your goal. Now that may be working or going. Which one is it? That can be in the pie as gym. You could slice that up as work or as just gym, but you're still going to be there. You're still doing that. You're not giving that up. That is a passion. That is a goal, but you're living it every day. So most of us are always doing that. And if you're able to make that part, intentional, where you're writing it in a journal, you're thinking of your life as a pie. A lot of people have a gaping hole where they're not filling some part of their pie. And that's the part that they're saying, oh, I need to fill it with a passion or a goal. And then they're sitting around searching for something without realizing that every day they're kind of doing something that they like. And it could be a hobby. It could be something that, brings them pleasure. I've talked to some people and they've said, oh yeah, I paint. And I was like, your walls are filled with art. Why did you never mention that as anything about you? Oh, I didn't think it was a part of what I do. I identified as a teacher. Okay, so it's part of it is thinking, what do I do every day that I get pleasure out of? And why am I not counting it? Being intentional about acknowledging the things that you do every day, because you're probably engaging in passion projects and you don't know it. You're making impact, but you don't realize it, those kinds of things.
Let's talk about your everyday, the snowball effect.
Sure. So I like to think of our impact as being about us at this point, particularly once you're in midlife. All of our goals beforehand were set oftentimes by others. You go to work and it's not your goal, it's somebody else's. You have all kinds of goals that are set by others. Once you hit the passion stage and you're saying, who am I? How do I matter? What can I do? Your everyday impact are the things that you do every day. And those can snowball. And the example that I always give is when I walked into the university where I teach, and in the very beginning, I noticed that everyone holds the door open for the person coming behind. Even if that person takes a minute or two, they're still holding the door. There's a culture that started by one person that started holding the door for everybody. So every semester, I remind the students, I say, oh, you're not the jerk that doesn't hold the door open, right? Like keeping it going. And then everybody gets to feel really good when they're holding the door for somebody. Now, people will say, that's so tiny. But when you change a culture with a tiny act, when you're smiling at people, when you do something that matters to you, maybe it's something that you're doing for yourself, you're counting the steps that you take every day to see if you can get a little more strong. You're going to the counting something that you're doing in the gym, seeing a little bit of progress. When you're intentional about that and you make that something that, especially that you can quantify over time, that might be putting it in your book. I put my steps in my book. I put everything in my book because I want to win. I live by that. I need a win every day. We all do. But you can then see the snowball effect. Nobody drops 30 pounds in a day. Nobody gets there from not doing something. You don't change a culture just in one movement. It's tiny little steps that become a snowball. But most of us just look up one day and say, where did that come from? How did that happen? And it's the intentionality that gets us there. And it's the quantification of our daily tiny actions. So I think that's incredibly important for all of us to make us feel like we matter for ourselves.
To add into the snowball effect of just keeping people with small wins and steps and all of these good things, what's a 1.5 minute takeaway you want to give to everybody to keep that resolution going?
I just wrote about that for Psychology Today, and that's to stay away from shame-based goals. Anything that you say, I'm gonna overhaul my life. I'm gonna try to change myself because I'm fat, or I'm gonna try to do something where you're shaming yourself. Remove the shame. You do only things that are positive facing forward, not shame based, things that you know that you can do. I'm going to try to drink 8 glasses of water today. I'm going to try to make something that I can build on because then it feels good. Because 77% of people fail their resolutions within the first week. So you want to be like the, you know, 20% that make it last throughout the year. And by doing that, it's just taking away any shame based goals that you're setting for yourself.
I don't know what to tell you guys, but it's like Dr. Debbie is such a loyal, great friend, a help to our radio program, to my career in media, Sandy. Unbelievable. And that's the thing about reaching out to people and having relationships with people. Have the relationships with the people, establish the relationships. One of the reasons I still do all my lunches with the students all the time because they really like it. It's an investment in their time. Yeah, it costs a couple bucks. Okay, big deal. I don't care. I really don't. I want to see people grow and get better. That's it. Papa Tom. Peace out, everybody. Talk to you next time. Do that social media thing. Like us on TikTok. Go over to TikTok and check out Papa T. It might be hard to find because, but go to the website and you'll find us the TikTok there because I changed up the format a little bit. A little wink for you. Go check it out. All right. Until next time, everybody. Peace out. Love y'all. Have a great day.